Because we have less documentation of them, the heroes we look up to nowadays, I won't call them superheroes. I'll call them more like freedom fighters. Um, Take for instance, Christopher, no, what's the name? Patrice Lumbaba, Thomas Sankara. Um, who else can I mention? Um, what's his name again? So these people are who we look up to as heroes. They helped shape what we are like the freedom we have today. Some would say Nelson Mandela too. You know, the freedom we're enjoying today. We say they helped shape that. Many would agree, many would disagree. So in ancient Egypt, Osiris and Set are sworn enemies. You know, I don't know. Set just despises Osiris, and I thought about it. In the spirit of sportsmanship, what's the best way to represent two competing opponents and showcase the non-sportsmanship of one, and that's Set. Set is not someone you mess with. When people lose in the game of Ayo Lokmo, it really hurts. Like, because I've witnessed my siblings when they play it and they lose, like, they really take it to heart. And I feel Seth is that kind of person. When he lost the throne, because he felt he's the rightful king of Egypt, he is supposed to be on the throne. So he lacks the spirit of sportsmanship. So people see me as a masquerade. Uh, Maybe because masquerades hide their identity. Uh, but my understanding is that masquerades are more spiritual than just aesthetics. They kind of embody spirits that are indigenous to certain people. I feel that's my own understanding of masquerade. That's like not a very good experience, like experiencing masquerade because these guys are savages. They whip you if you don't offer them, if you don't appease them in terms of like monetary stuff and gifts and shit like that. But over time, I think they've become biased in the sense that they're all after money now. So it's who gives them something they will not weep and stuff like that. But it's not always a good experience, the one I witnessed. I think it's just few artists that actually portray masquerades in their art. I think I can remember, yeah, there's this artist I met one time, like maybe it's just part of a series, but it was actually painting masquerades and their different forms and all. I don't think it's a general topic. Like most people don't want to dive into stuff like that. You can't blame them. I'm the definition of a juju kalava. I think it's a popular saying among kids when they see something like scary. It has to do with marks though. Juju kalava stuff like that. I think it's fading because Growing up, we used to see Lagbaja. Lagbaja was one of Juju Calabar in terms of music and all. But nowadays, people want. I don't think that's why I don't think masquerades are thriving in today's society. I think they are losing their value per se. The thing is, I'm more into Egyptology, you know, my yeah, than the Yoruba culture. Though I'm Yoruba, but I am going to the roots first. To really understand the future, you need to go back to the past. So it's more like a journey. Let's start from the past. Let's start from the ancient civilization that will now like bring it to the future. And maybe over my journey, maybe I will really dive into Yoruba um, traditions, folklore, storytelling. But for now, let's just stick to the past, Egyptology. I kind of have new knowledge on what my heart should, what message my heart should pass across. And speaking on influencing my art, I am going into sculptures starting 2026, like majorly into sculptures because one thing I've learned is for Egyptian art, sculptures really survived time, in terms of damage, wear, longevity. Sculptures survive because they are carved like they are stone carved, so they resist weather conditions. The only paintings that actually survived were the ones painted on walls, caves, rocks. So I kind of understood that they valued sculptures more than painting and the rest. So I picked that from them, and I think I want to dive into that more. I'll say nostalgia, and that I'm speaking for millennials, Generation X, or even the 80s. The our grandparents. Like a sense of wow. I remember this kind of setting where grandma sat us down and she was telling us tales and stuff. I think nobody wants to hear a tale by moonlight now when there's Instagram and all. No one even looks at the moon nowadays. Let's put it that way. Like, who has the time to stare at the moon? When you're in the club dancing, or you're in your room seeing a movie. There's Netflix. I think Netflix is the new moon. Like I said earlier, I see chess as the more advanced board game. But everything stems down from ancient games, starting from Senet down to Ludo, Ludo, Ayolokmo. They're all board games. So understanding these games made me understand that board games help in terms of creating that oneness, that unity, relaxation, which is vital. These things are vital for a thriving ecosystem. I love Anubis so much because it's quite mysterious. He rarely talks. Um, there's not much known about him. We everyone knows he's the god of the dead. Is in charge of mummification. I just love. He's the aesthetic is cool though. Looking at the jackal headed face and all, it's really cool. Anubis is cool. Like, and I feel there's more to Anubis, and I'm going to like point that out through my heart. There's this scribe who died, and in Egyptian tradition, or you can say mythology, because there's no way we can prove it yet. When you die, and you find yourself in the hall of judgment, your heart is going to be weighed against the feather of truth. Now, the feather of truth is math. It's the feather of math. Now, if your heart is heavier than the feather, your heart is going to be consumed by amit. Amit is the devourer. But if your heart is lighter than the feather, you'll be given a chance to proceed into paradise, the field of reeds. So this scribe, his heart was heavier than the feather, and he begged for a chance to go back and right his wrongs. I think he was given a chance. I think that's where the story ended, because this was from the book of the dead. This tale I'm talking about, it was from the book of the dead. And tales like that were lost to time in terms of manuscript. The manuscript was kind of destroyed. So we don't know what ends the story, but I think he was given a chance. And that's the fate of Egyptians believe that that's the fate of everybody. You're going to face judgment. So in Egyptian, during their life in Egypt, it was best to live near the River Nile, because that was where most farming was done, because that was where the fertile land was. I'm a big fan of making museum. I'm a big fan of making museum worthy works. And when I say museum worthy works, I mean works that are actually fit for museums. So if the opportunity arises, I would love to. I would say be authentic and be true to yourself. The journey is tough. I can't lie to you as an artist, because you're not the only one out there trying to push yourself. So the opportunity sometimes is slim. And sometimes there's this thing called nepotism. It's crazy. It applies to the art sectors too. But if you stay true to yourself, don't worry, you're gonna survive. You persevere. I have a chance to prove myself, honestly. So we were talking about me being out there last year, 2024, right? I made my mission to put myself out there. They say opportunities can't come and find you at home, right? So I left the studio, and I was out there, but nothing happened, nothing clicked. There was nobody. I feel people don't understand what this marks really stands for. So they kind of they are wary of like giving me a chance. And all I want is just a chance to like show what I stand for. And I decided that if no one is giving me a chance, maybe I'll do it myself, no matter how long it takes. And funny thing, Square Studio reached out to me. Victor reached out to me, and I was like, okay, my work is getting the audience that it actually needs. I'm grateful, for this opportunity. I wish I wish I could speed up the drying process so we can just unveil it immediately I'm done. But sometimes good art takes time, you know. So I'll let it do its drying course. But when we see it these are going to stand out. Like, it's going to really stand out. I did, okay, this is the second largest painting I've worked on. I worked on a large painting like this, the first one. It took me 12 days to complete it because it had more details, and it was more like a gift to a celebrity, so it took me a while. That's one thing I love about new expressionalism. You know, there's no mistake in new expressionalism. Every brushstroke, every splatter. I wish I could even splatter because splatter is paint splatter is part of my process. Because I like the effect. There are certain effects you see on a painting, new expressionizing painting, and you be like, a brush stroke can't do that. For the clouds, brush stroke can't do that. I had to use my fingers to get that effect, and that's what you get with new expressionalism. I've used sponge. I've used my hair. Yeah, because behind these marks, I have a long hair. I actually plait my hair, so each time I comb my hair and it's like breaks off, I pack it up and I use it to create art. I stay away from the studio. Like, sometimes the studio can be like a prison. You can't, ideas don't flow, you get bored. I just leave that studio. Most times I try to go to the beach, nature, and just try and recharge. Feed your eyes, feed your mind, and feed your soul. I'm a runner. I run, sometimes I say I run for a living because I have a running routine. I run almost every day, like I think 4 times in a week, just to stay fit and clear my head. If I say the answer to that question, some might not believe. Sometimes the colors actually speak to me. Like they tell me like, okay, this is the color that should go. I didn't study art. That's one thing people don't understand. I studied mechanical engineering. I didn't study art. So like I always say, it's a gift. Like it speaks to me. It tells me, okay, this is what I want from you. Like this is gonna go. I'm kind of blessed in a way that my art is not meant for everybody. That's one thing I've learned. And I'm glad it's not meant for everybody. But whoever connects with it, man, I know that person is going to take care of it. Because art for me is an extension of myself. I'm putting myself in this piece. That's the way my art is. That wraps it. So let's kindly stand there so I can put the finishing touches. So this piece has so many symbols. Starting with the River Nile, which flows to the River Niger, has the S shape, which is symbolic to Square Root Studios. The tortoise is very central to folklore stories growing up. Tortoise was always the main character, and the tortoise always fell short in every story. Now, this in CBD symbol is for luck. Let's say the tortoise had some luck. Maybe he would have been successful in most of his endeavors. Then we have set, playing, Ayolopon with Osiris rather. Both of them are enemies. Now, the CBD on Set is strength because Set is very aggressive. For him to be able to even kill Osiris, he has a lot of strength. The CBD on Osiris is protection because that's the goal of Osiris, to be protected from the evil machinations of Set. Now, this scene here talks about sportsmanship. Most people lack sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is very rare. Nobody likes to lose. But you must take every loss as part of life and bounce back from it. Now, the pyramids of Egypt is very symbolic in this painting because it's more like time from the past to the present. And what do we have in the present? We have the traditional setting, the traditional moonlight setting where the grandma sits down the children and she tells them story at night. And on the grandma we have the CBD for wisdom. The elderly are more experienced in life. They've seen more than we young ones will claim we have seen, so she can instill wisdom to them. The CBD on this girl, while she's listening to grandma, is happiness. She is so happy to be in this mist. The younger brother sitting close to her has the CBD of knowledge. He wants to learn. His position is symbolic in the sense that he acknowledges his sister and he sits close to her while listening very carefully to what grandma is saying. Now, the CBD on this guy, this boy here, he's distracted. He is looking somewhere else. He's looking into the flame, thinking about wealth. He just wants to be successful. You can't blame him. Most of us are in that state too. And we have the three symbolic in CBDs here: love, happiness. Yeah. Okay, this is happiness, peace, and love. Peace, love, and happiness. This setting has these three in CBDs coexisting together. Now, the announcer spider is a scary one, but wherever you see wisdom, there's always something waiting to snatch it away. I feel that's why the spider is here, because my placement is very strategic. It's right on top of what grandma is saying. So I'm very sure it's snatching away what grandma is saying from getting to this guy. But because these two are paying close attention, the spider can't snatch it away. My use of colors is influenced by Basquiat. I loved how he uses colors. So I decided to use the colors. It's a blend between realism, abstract. So I'll call it more like semi-abstract because you can tell what the figures are. You can tell this is a girl, this is a guy, a young kid, grandma. You can tell the pyramids. But the background is so colorful. It looks chaotic in a way, but it all blends in to give it that aesthetic look. Man, thank you, Square Root Studio, for having me. Honestly, this gave me joy. I love taxing myself, and when the opportunity came, I was grateful. I'm extremely grateful to the team of guys I worked with, my videographers, my photographers, my studio assistant too. This was a wonderful experience. I didn't even want to take a break because I was enjoying myself. Thank you so much, guys, and I wish to do more of this with you guys.